But basically what I want to talk to you about this evening is going to be about TIA's involvement in the youth space. You have heard the speakers, a number of things that they have said. I had them on here, but I'm not going to repeat those because some of those we are all very well aware of, so I'm not going to repeat those as they have already mentioned them. But I will just tell you a little bit about TIA. What is TIA? And then I will tell you about the Youth Technology Innovation Fund, and then how are we involved within the youth space. The Technology Innovation Agency is an agency of the Department of Science and Technology. It was instituted by Act of Parliament. We are mandated to stimulate and accelerate technology innovation in the country for all the South Africans, which means that includes you as the youth. And how do we do this? We have financial support and non-financial support that we offer. But this evening I'm just going to talk to you about a special fund, which is the Youth Technology Innovation Fund, which was launched in August, end of August last year. And this fund is focusing specifically on the youth between the ages of 18 and 30. And you may ask a question, why are we focusing only on the youth between the ages of 18 and 30? When we look at other TIA funding instruments, as I mentioned, this is not the only fund that TIA offers. There are other funds, but when we took stock of the kind of proposals and the funding that we do, we did realize that we do have a lot of people who are above the age of 35. However, within the space of 18 to 30, we did not have any applications. Hence, we thought of introducing this fund where we will focus on that youth. And why did we introduce this fund? The purpose of the fund is mainly to promote and stimulate the culture of technology innovation within the country, because that's one of the things that we notice, that a whole lot of people are not really aware what technology innovation is. And not only stimulate the culture of technology innovation, but also to stimulate the entrepreneurship amongst the youth. And as I mentioned, we do that by providing both financial as well as non-financial support. I will go through some of the offerings that we have and how are we doing that. We offer services. For example, if you are a youth, you have a very technologically innovative idea and you would like to turn that into a product, we will offer you a voucher. We also use a voucher system where we will take you to either one of our technology stations or another service provider who can take your idea and turn it into a product. One offering that we also offer is that if you have that product and you need it to be tested by SABS, we will offer you a voucher so that you can go to SABS and get the testing done. We have signed a memorandum of agreement with SABS where they will work with us in terms of the youth fund, in terms of the certification and other services. We also offer mentorship and business coaching services. Also, it's a voucher system. And we also offer IP protection, intellectual property protection. And I just want to mention that what our interest is as TIA is that the intellectual property must be owned by the youth. We are not co-owning the intellectual property. So that we will provide you with the funds where we can take you to the attorneys and they will be able to file a patent for you. We also have the enterprise development voucher, where once you have your prototype being developed and you want to start developing a business where you can eventually sell your product, we will give you a stipend of about 60,000 Rand per annum for up to 4 people in your enterprise for a period of 2 years. And we will be working with you as well as the various partners in terms of developing your own enterprise. And we also have, I also mentioned the business coaching services and all that. Our offer for the youth fund, it cuts across all sectors, as some of you may be aware that we have the health sector, advanced manufacturing, mining, ICT, energy, industrial biotechnology, and agriculture. But that is not limited only to those, as we are also introducing other or we do accept proposals that can be from other sectors that are not mentioned there. Hence, we have this unit called Special Projects, which cuts across all the sectors, as well as the sectors that are not currently existing within TIA. And we're hoping to be working with UJ in this particular business ideas launched that they will be making in such a way that if you are also interested in using some of our funds in terms of getting some of your prototypes or any of these services, then those will be made available to you as the youth. And I also just want to mention at this stage also that we are not looking into getting any return. This is a pure 100% grant, because we know that as the youth, you might not be having money to be able to do this. But now we are not only giving you the vouchers to do the prototypes and leave it at there. We're saying we are also offering an opportunity that should you now want to go commercialize and you look for more money, TIA will have the first right of refusal, meaning we will be the first one that you can approach and saying, can you give us more money? Because with this, we are also building a pipeline of projects for the various TIA sectors. So basically that's what we do through the Youth Fund. But now, as I mentioned, the mandate that we have, especially within the Special Projects Unit, is to build this culture of technology innovation. And I was observing when a professor was asking as to how many of you are interested in having startups in the technology, focusing on technology. And I saw a very, very small fraction. And that really shows that it's not isolated here, even in most areas where we go. It's only a few people that are looking into doing this from the technology side of things. Hence, we're saying one of the ways that we would be willing to partner with anyone, because we're receiving a whole lot of proposals. What we do is we do call for proposals, which we do every 3 months, and a whole lot of proposals that we get, they are just pure business ideas that are not talking to our mandate. And we look forward to working with the Center of Business here at UJ in terms of forwarding some of those to them so that those youth can also benefit out of that. But now, most of the time, what we do in terms of building this culture of technology innovation, we do a whole lot of awareness with various youth within the country. But one thing that we observe is that most of the time, some youth do not understand what is innovation and they cannot differentiate it from what an invention is. So I'm going to take a little bit of the time that I have left just to talk to you a little bit about innovation versus invention. And how I'm going to do this, I'm not going to define what is innovation, I'm not going to define what is invention, but I'm going to make use of an example that I'm sure all of you are aware of. Most of you, or all of us here, we know that the light bulb was invented by Thomas Edison. He invented new products like the bulb, the phonogram. He built several companies, but his focus most of the time was on the inventions and how to make those inventions more effective. But now there's somebody interesting that all of us also know of, which is Henry Ford. Edison was not only doing inventions, but he was also a master in inspiring others to pursue their dreams, as well as inspiring them to create innovations. And that's talking more to your mentorship. And one such person, or one such example where Edison worked towards mentoring was Henry Ford. Now, when you look at what happened, is that there was a certain stage when Henry Ford had a job. He worked for one of Edison's companies, but at a certain stage, he found himself, he was introduced to Thomas Edison. And, he got that opportunity to meet the person that he was working for. And what he did, because he explained to Thomas Edison that he had this idea for a gasoline automobile. And at that same time, Edison himself was working on an electric automobile. So Ford took the opportunity and he drew out everything that he had in mind. He talked to Edison, what interested him, and after listening to him, Edison encouraged him, and this is what he said. He said, I quote, keep at it. He encouraged him to keep at that idea that he had. So after that discussion, they were coming back from a trip when they had the discussion. What Henry Ford did was, he went back to his wife and told his wife that for the next few coming years, or at least for the next year, his wife will not see much of him because he was going to be busy now working on this innovation after being inspired by Thomas Edison. And what happened a few years after that incident is what changed really the history of the automobile industry as we know of it today. The question is, what is it that we can learn out of this that happened with Ford? We said Edison was an inventor, but when you look at Henry Ford was not an inventor. Most of us think he was an inventor, but he was an innovator. Henry Ford did not invent the internal combustion engine or the automobile, but what he did was he made improvements. He did not invent the assembly line, but he created it in a scale that has never seen before by anyone. He did not just focus on the product, but he focused on the entire process, creating a vehicle that was then taken to the mass market. So any of the steps that he went through, he did not invent those, but rather he clearly innovated them at a very, very large scale. So what we learn from Ford's example is that innovators, they can change things. You don't have to be called an innovator by doing something that nobody has never seen, starting it from the scratch. You can have something that is existing there and look at how can you make that to even be more effective or even to serve people in a better way than nobody has ever thought before. If you think of a telephone, there used to be a telephone that you would pick, but then somebody thought, what if I want to call somebody and we are maybe oceans apart or maybe I'm in my car. Then somebody thought, let me make a cell phone. The person did not start the process of making a phone, but he innovated an existing invention. Sometimes the innovators, they take new ideas. Sometimes it's their own ideas. Sometimes it's other people's ideas. And they develop and promote those into ideas that will become accepted as part of everybody else's life. But innovation requires self-confidence, it requires taking risks, it requires leadership ability and a vision of what the future should be. Henry Ford had all those characteristics, but it took him many years to reach where he wanted to be. So by that statement, what we mean here is that when you are looking into becoming an innovator, you need to know that there is patience. You cannot have an idea today and tomorrow you want to see a product out there. You gotta really know that it takes time, it takes patience, and you will have to work with all the people that will be assisting you in doing that. Yes, sometimes there could be obstacles, but in Ford's own way, I'll just make one of his quotes. He says, obstacles are those frightful things you see when you take your eyes off your goals, close quote. Sometimes you can innovate something or think of coming up with an idea and maybe fail at it, but that is not supposed to discourage you. Again, one of his quotes, when talking about failure, he says, failure is simply an opportunity to begin again. This time, you have to do it more intelligently. Sometimes you invent something or innovate something and maybe you make a mistake in what you did and realize, later that, I have made a mistake. What do you do about it? This is what Ford had to say in making mistakes. He says, the only real mistake is the one from which we learn nothing. Close quote. With those, thank you very much, and thank you very much for this opportunity, and we look forward to working with all of you.